Hello there, everybody. This is Alex from Hardcoin Guys, being my guide for God Hand on hard difficulty. Today we're doing stage 1-1 entitled The Beginning. First things first, I want to get out of the way. Consider this more so of a run than an actual technical guide. I do know quite a bit about God Hand, but I don't know every single intricacy or anything like that. And if I happen to know of any specific skills that, other people use, I'll try to give them credit to the best of my ability as well. So, starting off, I like to switch up my techniques. As you saw right there, I switched from, I think, straight and hook. I like having two lefts at first, so that way I can do this, which is basically just two punch into a guard break. These first couple of enemies, there's a couple ways I deal with them. Sometimes you can just kick them right into that little balcony thing right there, and they'll knock down and do some damage to them. Or you can do what I did, where it's pretty much just, do the double swipe into guard break. Because the reason why I do two punches instead of just, like, three or whatever into guard break is because a lot of enemies in hard mode tend to kind of just block your second hit, sometimes even your third. I got really lucky right there. This entire run for the very first stage of stage 1-1 was extremely lucky. This technique right here I got from somebody else. This is one of those cases of I don't remember dead offhand who it was, but I was watching a non-commentary playthrough on God Hand on hard, and I think it was a KMS run, where essentially the guy grabbed the barrel, threw it at these guys, and don't worry, the civilian is still alive. That was one thing I noticed that was pretty cool, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I want to try that out too. And it works. It works out pretty well. So credit to the person that came up with that. That wasn't me. So just wanted to throw that out there real fast. And something else too to explain real fast is that the way the reason why I'm taunting so much is because it actually builds up God Hand meter, which we're going to be calling the TP, because that's technically what it's called. This thing right here appears whenever you walk over a certain threshold, and I actually got extremely lucky with the fact that these guys were just kind of gone and not wanting to come over here by the time that happened. Oh, something else real fast too. The reason why this is not so much of a guide and more so like a run, I guess you can call it, even though it is technically a guide, I will consider it still a guide because there are things I can technically guide you through. But for the most part, the reason why... before that, real quick. So, when you taunt enemies and you have them chase you or whatever, when you have them chase them to a certain point, they'll eventually just stop chasing you and run back. If you run up and hit one of them, you can basically just aggro him and just fight him by himself. So, pretty much the entirety of God Hand is essentially just a combination of divide and conquer and just, well, I was going to get into this, but RNG. So, the reason why it's more of a run and not a guide is because of the fact that RNG plays such a big role. By the way, this is a no damage run, as in that I'm probably going to take damage, I'm going to make some flub ups, it's going to happen. These are, I think, called bandanas. These guys, they usually tend to block your third hit more often than your second one, but, I still just kind of rely on the old reliable of doing like 2 to 3 hits and then going for a guard break. Usually 3 is a pretty good idea because even if they block one hit, they won't retaliate most of the time, because in hard mode they retaliate more often whenever they are blocking your attacks, which forces them to go for, essentially a parry. But yeah, see that? I've gotten 2 orb drops, and by the way, real quick, item management, or I should say just management in general, is going to be a big key part for my playthrough, so I'm going to be hanging on to God Hand as much as I possibly can unless I really absolutely need it, and I'm going to be hanging on to orbs as much as I can until I absolutely need to use them, or I know for a fact that there's orbs that do drop. If I don't see an orb drop, I'm probably not going to use orbs, unless it's something that I know for a fact that I'm going to have to do. So the stage 1 boss, the mid-boss before Elvis, Mr. Gold, Mr. Silver, they are going to be I'm going to be using orbs on them. So again, keep in mind that if you are struggling to fight groups of enemies, you can always just trigger them into, like, being aggressive, or pretty much just aggro them, either by taunting or just hitting them. Getting them to chase you, running away, and then coming back for the fight, divide and conquer type situation. You can always kick them away. And for those that aren't aware, because, some people might just play the game on normal and might know about this type of stuff, which, for a while I didn't know either, is that, well, for one, there's the axe kick move, which is whenever an enemy's on the ground, you can just do, like, forward triangle, and then they'll just hit triangle right after, knock them into a launcher, which you can just eventually use for, like, a down... like a down triangle or forward triangle for a forward kick or back kick. But the counter system in this game is actually pretty nice, and I don't know if it's wholly unique, but, well, what am I, just, okay, sorry. It's been a while since I've done guides. I'm trying to get back into the mold of doing this again, so I do apologize. Fatties are actually pretty easy to take down. They're pretty much pattern-based, but when there's more than one, they're kind of annoying. So, the counter system is pretty much whenever an enemy is going for an attack and then you hit them right when they're doing that attack, you get a counter, which does more damage. And it can also have more different types of attributes, such as, launching attributes or knockback. So, for example, if somebody were to do an attack and you were to hit X, which is, the default kick option, what will happen is you'll end up kicking them away. This right here is something you want to go for. You want to try to get these guys to hit the wood, so that way they, the balcony thing, the ceiling falls down on top of them. Something else I'm going to be relying on every once in a while is if I'm in a group of enemies that are just, relatively quote-unquote fodder enemies, I'm going to be using the technique of using sprint and then hitting square for the dive roll. So that way I can do just damage while also trying to escape. It's not perfect, but it does sometimes kind of work. If you come back this way, an enemy will appear. Two of them, one behind you, one in front of you. This is another one. I don't think he's called Elite. I don't know what they're called. You got the basic fodder, brown fodder enemy or whatever, and then you got this green shirt fodder enemy. I don't know what they're called. Dead offhand. Also, something else too is you'll notice me using roulette a lot. I kind of took that from Seraphim because I saw him doing it a lot. Seraphim 17, so you'll be hearing me talk about him quite often because he did play God Hand and he played it pretty well. And look at that RNG drop. That's a full God Hand meter right there. I can use God Hand whenever I want. These guys, enemies that are holding weapons like this, like clubs or wooden or wood or whatever, they'll typically go for a move where they kind of hit high. They'll usually do 2 highs and then a forward strike, which goes for pretty much your entire body. You have to sidestep that. And one thing you can do, whether or not you want to build up meter, because dodging builds up meter. One thing you can do is just to kind of fuck with them. It's an easy counter. You can get a lot of damage on them too. If you just don't knock them back, don't do anything to make them lose their weapon, you can pretty much just use that to your advantage, because all you gotta do is just up dodge whenever they go for a swing and then hit them. Just keep up dodging, go for a swing, hit them. If you wanted to do it that way, you could, because it does technically do quite a bit of damage because it still counts as a counter, considering the fact that they are in a constant state of animation of trying to hit you. So this part is a little bit difficult. Save up your God Hand for this, because there's usually about 2 demons that usually appear. I like to run just a little further away to make sure that the civilian gets out of the way. And if things get a little too hectic and you got God Hand, you really want to use it like I did, you always can. But then again, I still had access to God Hand back there, so that's why I'm basically using it. If you want to do this technique, you can. If you think you can handle, the regular purple demons just fine enough, which they're not too bad. Regular purple demons are some of the least hardest of the demons to deal with. Second to least hardest, the blue Trident one is probably the easiest one to deal with. And even without God Hand, you can still kind of just take these guys on just by default. And I will be using the forbidden technique known as back triangle into X into wall kick. The constant, hitting them back and forth between it. I was trying to get the full taunt there to give me at least a little bit more bar, because whenever you do a ball buster, you can still do a taunt on somebody and still get bar for it. But I kind of missed. I left it too early, so that's what happens. I think if you don't kill demons, I think those moves do appear in the shop, but you have to pay for them. And by the way, I might end up accidentally forgetting to show off the techniques. I'm going to try to make it more of a known thing that I'm going to try in later levels, hopefully, if I remember. Which is basically showing off my techniques before I leave an area, so that way people kind of know like what I'm running with that entire time. But then again, I could always change techniques like mid-combat. That probably won't happen. Come back here, you can grab some stuff. I could have sworn I missed a fairy, but I don't think I did, actually. I don't think Stage 1-1 has fairies. Those are the challenges. I'm going to only do probably like 2 of them, because money is going to be a thing as well I'm going to need. And I should have grabbed this orb thing first, because it gives you at least, I think, 3 orbs. I should have grabbed that first and then the gray one, because the single one would have given me a little bit extra cash, like maybe like 100 or 200, something like that. Nothing in there. I think we pretty much got everything. I know it should go without saying, but you kind of want to leave every level with at least close to as much God Hand as you can possibly get your hands on for the meter-wise. And you want to leave with as much health. If you don't have God Hand in the next one, that's fine. You can always just use, use taunts and just use a taunt technique to kind of just build up meter that way. But anyway, that's it for this. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time. So take care, everybody.